take you to Turkey now, where Turkey is heading to the polls tomorrow. Now, the current president, Tayyip Erdogan, faces a tough challenger as well as opposition in Turkey's landmark elections. We're now joined by SABC News correspondent Trent Murray to look at tomorrow's elections. Trent, thank you so much for your time this hour. So it would appear that President Erdogan is in a real fight for political survival. Talk to us more about this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For 2 decades, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has led this country, but it seems he really is in a battle now to try and hold on to the presidency. The polls show that this race is incredibly tight. His challenger is 74-year-old Kemal Kilicdaroglu. He is a seasoned politician in this country, and he has assembled 6 different political parties around him to try and take on Erdogan. They're all very different parties, but what brings them together is the fact that they would like to boot Erdogan out of office. Now, the polls show that it really could go down to the wire, and that for that reason, these final hours of this campaign are seeing both sides working very hard to try and sort of vacuum up any last votes. President Erdogan is actually just over the Bosphorus Strait there as we speak, meeting at a neighbourhood assembly. He's drinking tea, shaking hands, kissing babies, all that stuff politicians like to do when they're in a tight race. Kemal Kilicdaroglu also spending his time meeting with swing voters in a key district.
Talk to us about what are some of the key issues dominating the campaign right now.
Look, it's the economy, number one. Turkey is facing record inflation here, and there's also been a very sharp depreciation of the Turkish lira in the past 2 years. That is making life very, very expensive for folks here, just trying to pay their electricity bills or put food on the table. I think it's a sign that President Erdogan knows that this is really his weak spot. He's made this big announcement in the past 48 hours that he will actually boost the minimum wage for public sector workers by some 45%. It is a huge cash splash, but whether that is enough to get them over the line, we'll have to just wait and see. Other issues that are featuring: national security, defence. Turkey, of course, is not too far from Ukraine, so the relations with Russia are playing a role, but it really is the economy that's dominating the landscape nationwide.
Let's talk about the earthquakes that hit southern Turkey earlier this year. Are they likely to feature in some of the discussions?
Look, they are, I would say. We've actually been in the earthquake zone earlier this week in places like Hatay and Maraş, which were some of the most devastated ones. And when you speak to people there, you really will hear 2 sides, but 2 very passionate sides. You either have people who feel like the state did a lot to help them, that they've been given a new container home quickly or even had a home rebuilt, and they're extremely grateful and will be voting for Erdogan without a doubt. But then you've got other folks who are on a long waiting list. They may be still living in a tent and they're feeling desperately disappointed by the government's reaction, and they feel that they will cast a judgment at the ballot box. You know, I spoke to one gentleman down there who was a barber. He lost his store, was now operating out of a temporary zone, and he said, look, when people are hurt, they will cast judgment, and there is a hurt here. So we do expect those numbers could change a bit in that region given how much it was shaken up by the quake.
Let's talk about timelines now. When will we have a result?
Well, look, voting will kick off here at 8 a.m. Local time in Istanbul. For those watching at home, that's 7 a.m. Joburg time. Voting then all throughout the day. Polls will close at 5 p.m. local time. But for anyone that still is in the line waiting to vote, they are told that they can stay there and cast their ballot. We then expect a little bit of a break while that counting takes place, and the results should start to filter through about 7, 8 p.m. and then officially at 9 p.m. a broadcast ban will be lifted for more serious exit polls. So we should start to get an idea in the early evening Joburg time of which way this is going. Some of those key areas we're watching out for: central Anatolia, very much AK Party base where President Erdogan does well, but also Istanbul is critical. 61 million voters in the country overall. 16 of them are here in Istanbul. This city will either make or break a presidency.
That was SABC News correspondent Trent Murray joining us there for an update on that story. We're keeping a very close eye on it.